Warren Buffett is probably the greatest investor of all time. When you think about investing, his name almost immediately comes to mind. In fact, it might be the only name that comes to mind for most people. Other than his longtime business partner Charlie Munger, there aren't that many people publicly known for their investing achievements. Nicknamed the Oracle of Omaha, Buffett began investing at the age of 11, and today at the age of 94 is ranked as one of the wealthiest people in the world by Forbes, a list he's been on for decades. And that's after donating reportedly almost $60 billion over the last few years. If the title of this lesson didn't already give it away, and I asked you what you thought the secret to Buffett's success is, you might say something along the lines of, he must have picked really great companies, or that he must have never lost any money. But in reality, the answer is much simpler. It's time. To help illustrate my point, let's imagine an alternative universe. One where instead of continuing to invest like he has on his way to becoming one of the wealthiest people in the world, he decided to retire, and to do so early. Buffett first reached billionaire status when he was 56, so let's use that as his hypothetical retirement age. This chart shows his net worth up to that point. According to Forbes, there are 2,781 billionaires worldwide as of April 2024. That means that there are approximately 1 billionaire for every 3 million people on the planet. So it's a very exclusive club. Being able to amass $1 billion is an incredible achievement that very few people do. Retiring with $1 billion would have left Buffett with more money than he know how to spend, allowing him to live the most luxurious retirement that he could imagine. But if Buffett decided to retire early with all of his wealth, would he still be considered one of the greatest investors of all time? There are 427 billionaires on that list that fall into the finance and investments category. And although some of the names are familiar, the vast majority are not. And remember, as unimaginable as accumulating $1 billion would be, that number still represents sitting dead last on that list. The truth is, if Buffett followed what most people do, accumulate in order to retire early and live off of that for the rest of his life, I'd bet that very few people would know who he is. Of course, he would still have been one of the most successful people on the planet and a great investor in his own right, but he wouldn't occupy the seat of greatest investor of all time. When we look at the numbers, the impact that time has attributed to his success becomes quite clear. Buffett first became a billionaire at age 56, meaning that it took him 38 adult years to accomplish this mega milestone. Remarkably, for the sake of our math, Buffett is 94, meaning that he's had another 38 years since his 56th birthday. What does his net worth look like now? Just a cool $144 billion. That's the equivalent of becoming a millionaire 144,000 times. The power of compounding has resulted in Buffett repeating what took him 38 years to do 144 times in the subsequent 38 years. He's earned over 99% of his wealth since he turned 56. It's mind-blowing, but believe me, the math is correct. Of the 2,781 names on Forbes' billionaire list, there will be quite a few that are familiar. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, or even Taylor Swift, just to name a few. But those are all household names for what they've been able to do outside of their investments. What makes Buffett unique isn't his returns in a given year or one particular investment. It has been his ability to invest for as long as he has. That's the key. We don't need the highest returns in a given year. Buffett has been beat by someone else in more years than not. And we don't need some new strategy. Buffett simply invests in undervalued companies that he understands and loves. All we need to do is put our investments in a place where they can survive market volatility with a plan that safeguards them from our dependence. If we can give our investments time, our investments can give us everything we could ever want. Of course, Buffett is an extreme example, and I don't expect anyone else to replicate the amount of money that he's amassed. But we can still get Buffett-like results with any amount of money. Here's a chart showing Buffett's net worth over his life. You can barely see any distinguishable change until he becomes a billionaire. But from that point on, the progress is impossible to ignore. The power of compounding turns his net worth into an exponential curve, increasing more and more rapidly with each passing year. Compound interest works by earning a return on your contributions, and then in future years by earning returns on the returns from previous years. Let's break it down simply. If you have $100 and earn 10% on it, at the end of year 1, you'd end up with $110. If you earn 10% again in year 2, you'd end up with $121 because you earned 10% on your contribution plus 10% on the $10 of interest earned last year. Same return percentage, larger return dollar amount. This pattern can go on forever, increasing in each and every year. If we take any amount of money, whether it's a large lump sum like investing $100,000 for 60 years while earning an annual return of 8%, or making regular contributions of $200 biweekly for 60 years while earning an annual return of 8%, we can see a similar pattern to Buffett's net worth. Slow initial growth for a long period of time, followed by rapid growth that's hard to comprehend. The longer we invest for, the larger the jump becomes from year to year. The longer we invest, the harder our investments can work for us. And that's the real power of time. Over the 38 years it took Buffett to go from $1 billion to $144 billion, you might be surprised to learn that his average annual rate of return would have had to have been 14%, assuming no new contributions or reinvested dividends. A higher return than the market has produced on average, but nothing astronomical. As Buffett's longtime friend and business partner Charlie Munger said, "The first rule of compounding, never interrupt it unnecessarily." Warren Buffett put himself in a position to be a great investor by starting early and prioritizing it throughout his life. But he was able to become the greatest investor of all time because he ensured that his investments were always in a position to work for him. Always remember, time in the market matters more than timing the market. A concept that we'll dive into deeper in the behavior and investing chapter.